All right, we got to talk about Travon Walker. Let's put a pin on his rookie season. I've talked about him a good amount, heading into the draft and also during the season. But now that, we've seen him play a full year, let's give his kind of year-end thoughts. And first, I have to just talk about, how I felt about Walker as a whole, because I think that's, important thing to bring up is heading into the season, I was not a fan of Walker coming out of college. Not to say that I wouldn't have drafted him at all or anything like that, but I thought that, to be honest, the picking him first overall was insane because I just felt like he had not shown enough at the college level for me to feel comfortable about drafting him. I don't think that he was consistent. His numbers were not very good, even when you find ways to isolate certain things, such as when he's just in a pure pass rush set, his numbers were still very poor compared to a lot of the guys who went over him. Now, he is an insane athlete, and that also was a thing that was brought up, and that's not... I don't just say that as I think sometimes people will say, oh, you just loved him because of the combine, you're an idiot. People say that about certain, to certain people about certain players, but there is actual value in his athleticism, and in fact, we have seen players kind of with his, archetype, someone who doesn't have a ton of success at the college level, but is a freak athlete, eventually figure it out at the NFL level. Rashawn Gary is a perfect example of it, although I would say there's far more misses than hits, which is why I wasn't initially a fan. But, okay, so now we're caught up. Season 1, we've seen Travon Walker play a full season. What did we see from him? Well, we did see some good, I thought. I don't think it's fair to say that this was completely terrible or anything like that, but the reality is we mostly saw him just do one thing every time, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't work out, but this is the thing we saw him do. He's going up one-on-one against a Chargers right tackle. Watch as he's going to engage in contact, and really he's just going to try to overpower the tackle. This is what he did consistently, was can he overpower offensive linemen? He essentially had one move all season, and if he could overpower the player he's going up against, it usually worked out really well. He did incredible against tight ends this season for that reason. Watch here as he is able to overpower and eventually get half a sack out of it. So hey, there was some definite highlights in his game. I think the issue is we kind of knew that this is something Walker could do, and the whole criticism of him is that what other moves does he have? Can he become a complete pass rusher? And we haven't seen it yet from him. He did, maybe he could at some point, but as of right now, this is really all we saw him do, which is why I think he struggled to put up particularly great stats. Like you look over here, this is his, PFF grade and pass rush win rate. This is out of 126 total eligible players, and eligible player is someone who played 20% of their snaps. He was very low on the list. He couldn't even crack the top 90 in terms of PFF pass rush grade, and he finished 86th in pass rush win rate. So these are not good numbers. These are not something that you like to see if you're someone who values these statistics, which not everyone does. I do, though. I think they're very good, and consistently year in and year out, the players that I consider to be the best pass rushers also do well in these statistics, and players that I don't think are very good don't do well in these statistics. If you look at his overall PFF grades for specific positions, it's not bad. I mean, it's not I shouldn't say it's not bad, but it's not terrible, right? I mean, again, he was an NFL player last year. You feel good about that. It's not like he came on and just was incapable of even playing, but he was definitely not a great player either. The coverage was very good, and to be honest, I've kind of talked about him as almost an anti-Micah Parsons in a sense. I don't think it'd be crazy to kind of move him and have him play off-ball linebacker a bit. He has a good feel for it. His athleticism are legitimately he could be a cornerback with his numbers and that he put up at the combine. They're that good. He's that much of an athlete. So he could be a great coverage linebacker, I think, if they took the time to play him there, or at least did a Micah Parsons thing of have him kind of play on the edge and play as a linebacker. I'd like to see that a bit more from him. I wish, I wouldn't mind if the Jaguars did that. But again, run defense, pass rush, not good numbers, not terrible numbers either. The tackling was low, but that's being a rookie in the NFL. I'm not concerned about that too much. So what does that tell us? What do we know from this? Really not much. I mean, if he was like legitimately very good as a rookie, I'd be very ecstatic about his future because, even if he was like solid as a rookie, I'd be very ecstatic about his future just because, kind of the trajectory of him is it typically takes 3 years for a guy like this to start to play well. I think if he has a bad year too, I'm not pressing the panic button then either. I think a guy like him, the history says, like Danielle Hunter is kind of the other guy. He was a 3rd-round pick. That was, again, who knew that was going to work out the way it did. But for him, it was also kind of year 3 that he put it all together as a pass rusher. I think there's some disappointments that to be had in Travon Walker's run defense. I kind of said heading into the draft and heading into the first season, I thought that was getting a bit overhyped. It was solid last year. I think his run defense, he could stop the run, but he wasn't like, and by last year I mean his last year in college, not last NFL season. But it wasn't what people made it out to be. People made it out to be like he was this elite run-stopping edge rusher, which is just not true. He was a solid edge rusher, but like I brought up, Thibodeaux and Hutchinson were better run defenders their last year in college than Walker was. So I think you would like to see more from that. But I'm part of the good thing about if you are a Jaguars fan watching this channel and listening to me is that because I had such low expectations for Walker, I'm not that concerned about maybe him not doing much as a rookie because I'm not expecting him to be a superstar right away. I'm not. Did he get better towards the end of the year? A little bit. He still wasn't. He was never at a point. He never outplayed Arden Key, who was their other edge rusher, and they looked better when he was out there than when Walker was out there. Now, maybe that's unfair. I thought Key had a really good year last year, so that's not totally fair to hold against Walker, but that's just where I view him right now. And again, these are the things I value. These are the things that I care about. And one thing that I try to do that I don't think enough people, that talk about football try to do is I try to come up with things I value and traits I value and stats I value and then plug the player in and see if they achieve those things, not the other way around. I don't decide, do I like Walker or do I not like Walker, and then, make my argument about it. I say, okay, these are the things I value. I value PFF grade. I value pass rush win rate. I value what I see on tape. Those are kind of the main things that I, look at, and what I see on tape is incredibly subjective, and, opinions can vary there, but the stats can't vary. And so if he next year puts up a 75 grade and puts up a high pass rush win rate, then, hey, I'm going to be a fan of his. That's just how my mindset works. That's how I view this stuff. Again, maybe there's a scenario where on tape he could put up those numbers and I would say actually it's a bit misleading, but probably not. That very rarely happens. Does happen, but probably not. Usually it's the numbers are pretty accurate when it comes to defensive linemen. Again, quarterback play, cornerback play, those things a little bit fluky. But when it comes to defensive linemen, we do kind of have pretty good statistics to measure that stuff, and people don't like to use them as much. But again, it's pretty isolated as a position. It really kind of is. At least you can use stats to isolate it as a position and look at like just the true one-on-one matchups, what happens. So it makes sense that it's actually a position that you can kind of measure with statistics a little bit better than other positions. But yeah, as a whole, how do I feel about Travon Walker's first year? I wasn't disappointed with his first year. I'll say that. I think he met my very low expectations for what I was expecting out of him as a rookie year. Really, the reality is, no matter what he did, unless he was great this year, it wasn't going to impact my opinion too much. If he had a good year, it would have impacted my opinion. But if he had a bad year, no matter really how bad he was, I was still going to say, you got to give him time. He's just very, very raw. And it might not even be next year that he puts it all together. It might be a following year that he puts it all together, which is, a bit unfortunate. You want him to be good now because you're good now. But for now, that's how I view him. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Travon Walker? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.